Well, at 12 o'clock today, the news has been released officially about what's happening or not happening for the 2021 TT. I must admit, I didn't see this coming so quickly, and people are going to say had to be done before Christmas. So on that, you're pulling the plug, and no chance at all. I mean, as it stood, to run it as you expected next year.
Yeah, I think we said we'd make an early decision to give certainty, clarity, and that was determined very early doors. But that's very consistent with what we tried to do entirely with the pandemic, Paul, as a government. And what we have done is considered all the options, and we believe that the right decision is to actually cancel the TT for next year and plan for a Classic TT and Grand Prix, and hopefully have the TT come back 2022 bigger and better than ever.
So some tweaks there with the later event in August, September. It will be tweaked to include some TT element?
No, it's the Classic TT
just the classic
as we know it,
yeah.
And which is a fantastic event in its
yeah.
own right, as is the Manx Grand Prix. And what did become very, very apparent when we considered the options is that yes, we could have moved the TT there, and the Manx Motorcycle Club and so forth are all very gracious in terms of considering that option. However, there is the double displacement issue as one of the biggest concerns and risks around moving it, because bear in mind we've cancelled the TT once already. We've asked most of the accommodation providers, the Steam Pack, etc., to roll their bookings by 1 year, and if we do that then again for next year and move it to August, you've got the potential of a double displacement, because quite frankly the Classic TT and the Manx Grand Prix and also general tourism activity is actually quite strong at that time. So therefore it was going to be a lot more complex and a major risk factor.
Let's do finances then. So are you asking Steam Pack and everybody else to roll over for another year, basically? This is going to be hurting a lot of people.
It will indeed, yes. And that's part of what we're doing here today, is that we are also announcing an extension of support for the Strategic Capacity Scheme, Salary Support Scheme, and also a loan facility.
We heard stories last year, some hotels didn't or weren't able to give the money back to these people, and vice versa. People just want to roll it over and they weren't getting that service. So
yeah.
Did you get it all sorted out last summer?
I think for the vast majority we did, and again, you know, we're bear that in mind again here, and that's why we're providing this extra level of support. And what I would say, particularly for the fans, to please be patient as these accommodation providers try to re-accommodate you.
So hopefully hotels will roll this over. I mean, they don't have to, of course, do they? I mean, this is just up to them.
No, they don't. And, you know, clearly you need to consult your insurance and so forth there. But on that basis, again, I just highlight that point about please be patient, because the TT fans, will be looking forward greatly to coming back to the island.
Now, you cancelled it, obviously, when you cancelled it for this year, and it cost X amount of money for that cancellation. By doing it earlier, have you saved more money by doing it before things get too booked up?
Yeah, there is a cost obviously putting the TT on, but there's also a massive benefit within the local economy, and we do recognise that this impact will be felt very strong, throughout the tourism and hospitality sector, and throughout the island in general. But of course, what we are hoping for is what will be a gradual return of tourism for next year, as we see the introduction of the vaccine and testing and so forth coming forward.
So playing devil's advocate on this, because there's no winning answer, is there? Should you wait a bit longer with the vaccine coming online?
Yeah, I think I think it's a really valid question, and we all hope and pray that vaccine will do what it says it will do on the tin. But the reality is, it's going to be quite some time before it has a general rollout, across in terms of general public. So on that basis, having the event in May, June next year, it was too big a risk factor to consider.
And yet August, September, you think you're going to be okay?
Well, August, September, we hope, and we would hope that we will through the summer be able to have a gradual return of visitors, because it's not just the vaccine, that we have to consider here and testing, but I think you have to think that, can people actually afford to travel? Will there be capacity to travel with regards to airlines and so forth? So there's a lot of different factors, and I think it's going to take some time, and most of the travel and tourism commentators say it will take some time for the industry to recover.
And as an aside, the cruise line business, what's going to happen there? Because they may be coming in presumably throughout the season, aren't they?
Well, yes. I mean, the whole cruise industry, has been impacted very severely. It's one of the first ones to be hit, and you see these pictures of these cruise ships lined up, doing nothing. So that'll take some time. Similarly to, I think, coach operators at the same time, who rely on the elderly and the vulnerable. Will they have that confidence to travel?
And clearly, it seems obvious, but not. Maybe you can tell me otherwise. People will have to have a proof that they've been having the vaccine before they come to the Isle of Man, whatever happens, presumably for some time to come.
Yes, there's a lot of speculation with regards to that, and you see, I think, commentary from various airlines and so forth that you get. And going back to the TT, and whilst regional airlines, it may not take too long for them to be re-established. However, international airlines, I think the international criteria will be a different game altogether.
So for all the different teams watching this, especially the ones the smaller teams, which rely on probably this sort of event happening for their income, I don't know, and their sponsorship and that sort of thing. What would you say to them?
Well, we say, we're deeply sorry. We regret having to make this decision, but this is in the best interest of the Isle of Man's health and well-being. And what we're trying to do is to make this decision again early to provide certainty and clarity so as we can plan for Classic TT, Grand Prix and TT22.
Are you worried that 2 years out, it's almost like people might move on and this will get out of their regular calendar of events?
Yeah, I could be very much concerned in terms of what the impact will be, not be on the economic, the emotional side, because let's face it, the TT is part of who we are, and I firmly believe we will come back bigger and stronger than ever. However, there will be those who will think that cancel 1 year is tough, cancel 2 years is going to have even more of an impact.
Okay, figures finally. How much does it cost to put on? How much will you be saving, and how much outstanding will there be? Have you done those number crunching?
Overall, the impact to our economy is 37 million. That was the last survey we did.
That's what we brought in.
In 19. So that figure circulating around our economy clearly has a massive impact. Whilst it's been great that we've had some staycation, we've had Airbridge, and maybe we can have more of that going forward. And as I say, I generally believe that we'll see a gradual return for tourism as the vaccine is rolled out and testing, etc., comes into play.
And the Superbanks long weekend, you're moving the senior race day public holiday.
Yes, so the decision, if you cancel a TT, what happens to senior race day? We've decided as council ministers that the best course of action is to go for the 4-day weekend again in August, the Supermanx bank holiday. I think it was a great success this year and have no reason why it shouldn't be next year.
And the grandstand scoreboard, you have another year to decide what to do.
I guess that does come into play. Yes, you're right, as well as the promenade as well, which of course has been delayed.
Of course.
So
they were talking about June, weren't they? That was the latest update. I'm not going to push on that, but that was what they were talking about. That gives you breathing space.
It does, exactly. And I think we all want to see the promenade back. So the Isle of Man will have a brand new promenade, and for in time for TT22.
You're not going to answer this question, but I have to ask you. In Comyn, was it a split decision? Was it unanimous? You're not going to tell me, are you?
No, actually, there was a lot of questions, a lot of challenge, in a similar way you're asking, as well as all the fans and teams, etc. Could we not do it at another time? And I think we have challenged, and we've been out to all the stakeholders, a wide range of stakeholders here, to come to this decision, and it was unanimous, the decision in the end. So I can assure you that gone through Department, gone through council ministers, and I hope that the Manx public, and particularly, again, I come back to the accommodation providers and everyone that's going to be financially impacted with this, please give them some time as they deal with this situation. But let's hope that we can have tourism back and start to build upon that next year.